Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Power Blade 2! In the last part we started off the game, we got through the first two stages, and now it's time to do that exact amount of stages again. Stage 3 doesn't start off as anything too interesting, but we do get my favorite suit from this stage, although it also has potentially my least favorite bit of stage design in the game, because the controls and the way it moves don't exactly work. More on that in a few moments. Now, between parts, I actually did try to look around and see if I can find anything extra about this game. And there's not too much out there, at least that I was able to find just from the research between these two parts. I'll see if I can find more for next part. But apparently this is one of those games that has a cutting room floor page, in that it's one of the ones that has like 3 things on it and nothing else. For instance, there's a hidden credit copyright in the game's ROM to Toshikazu Iwasa. There's a sound test hidden in the game by holding left A and B on the second player controller and then pressing start with the first player's controller, and the game had a different name in Japan. It was called Captain Saber and had a different title screen. Cool? Cool. It has the same composer as Power Blade 1 though, which means it's the same composer who worked on some of the Parodius stuff, some of the Mega Man games, namely the Genesis Wily Wars stuff, various Metarot / Metabots games. I had my giant revelation about that back when I did Power Blade 1. Less so shocking here. That said, their work is still really damn good. She does well. It's Kinuyo Yamashita, by the way, for those looking for a name. Alright, time for our mini-boss this time around. And the dragon, this time around, decides to take on a light blue, and the biggest change to this fight is not only does the bounce take longer and have taller jumps, but we're also on top of conveyor belts. Otherwise, it still has the fire attack that travels downward a little bit before traveling across. I'd honestly say this is one of the easiest mini-bosses in the game. It's just that, even with how good the suit is, what comes up in the later portion of the level is not a fun level design element. With that said, for beating this mini-boss, we get the wingsuit. And as the name would suggest, this allows us to... Oh, no, it's the rocket suit, rather. You have a jetpack on your back that allows you to fly. You press the jump button and you hold it, and then you're basically... It's almost like the wetsuit in midair, almost exactly control-wise. It has a bit more momentum, and I think it's overall the fastest method of movement in the game. And they really want you to use it here. I refuse to, because what's going on here is we have fans. They push you and pull you all over the place, but as you can see here, you can also get trapped at the top of their blow, or of their wind, if you're not moving fast enough. You can also kind of get trapped right over the fan itself. I should note, by the way, you don't actively get pushed up as much when you're over the center of the fan, but the center of the fan is also a safe spot, because if you touch the fan's period beyond the central bit that rotates, it's instant death. So be careful, this screen really sucks. I would recommend just using the wingsuit from the start, but I am picky and want to conserve my batteries because I like using the suits for boss fights more than anything. Hell, I probably could have kept the rocket suit on right then because I just used it for those 2 enemies, but again, I like to make sure I keep it straight. I feel this is a game that the difficulty of which depends on almost your stubbornness level, because if you're someone who doesn't want to use the suits except for when you absolutely need to, the game's gonna be a lot harder than it is if you decide to use the suits all over the place. With that said, that does come at the cost of losing out on the battery power, meaning that you can potentially lose out on using the suits during more pivotal moments like boss fights. Personally speaking, I prefer to save it for as long as I can, and also, hey look, the boss fight in the previous stage is now just a normal enemy. It's a bit weird. Oh well. Honestly, outside of the propeller section, Stage 3 is arguably about as hard as Stage 1. By that I mean it's relatively easy. It's just that there's a bit more complicated enemy layouts. With that, though, we're about to be at the boss fight, so in the case you want to use a healing item, which I don't recommend, you could. Alright, this boss uses the newt suit we got back in Stage 1. You want to use the rocket suit for this fight, because this guy likes to ninja all over the place, jumping from wall to wall, even climbing along the ceiling, while 2 little bits of fire, almost like sparks from Smash Brothers, I guess more from Mario, just orbit the arena. With that said, if you use the rocket suit, not only are you usually out of his jumping arc, but the actual fires can't hurt you. So that boss fight becomes pretty trivial with that suit. It's almost like they want you to use the suit you get in every stage for the boss fight, but I feel in certain cases, like stage 2, there's just better better suits you can use to fit the situation. And with that, we're already on to stage 4, the final of the main stages, so to speak. Because stage 5 can't be accessed until you've beaten the first 4 stages, and the final stage beyond that, well, you can only get to there after beating stage 5. With that said, stage 2 is not a stage I recommend you take on first out of the 4, as I recommend you have at least the wetsuit before heading into here, potentially the wetsuit and the newt suit, as there's going to be a whole bunch of water in this stage that's going to be a hell of a lot easier to navigate if you have the wetsuit. And the newt suit is just in case you want to use a suit to have the attack, because I think all the suits attack the exact same power, or rather their attacks the exact same in both range and power. It's more so just which one you feel is best suited for your situation. With that said, the newt suit can come in handy if you want to use that attack in various places. Water in this game isn't the worst thing in the world, honestly, beyond even your movement speed period just being super slow, as at least your attack isn't slowed down and you can still aim in all 8 directions compared to other games where your attacks are also influenced, or affected rather. This could have been a hell of a lot harder to deal with. I mean, yeah, just look at that speed increase with sliding with the wetsuit. It's ridiculous. With that said, I will say Power Blade 2 is, I think, a bit more fun than the first game in one regard, and that I think it's a bit of a more fun game just to speed through. And that's partially because its more linear level structure leaves it open to just making your movement more and more refined as you go. There's no having to, alright, I can do this here, that loses me time in trying to, like, find the agent for the stage, which I like Power Blade 1, but that one piece, that one major mechanic makes going through the game on repeated playthroughs kind of a slog, because you know where the boss fight is, you just can't get to it yet. And it's a weird, unfortunate thing, too, because in a lot of regards, that was a very defining feature of the first Power Blade. Because people, or not people, not many action platformers, at least, went for the more open-ended level approach. It was usually just this kind of thing on the NES, where it was, here's your level, get to the end of it. And I appreciate the first game going for that semi-open level thing, like, alright, you have to find the guy and then go to the end of the stage. Alright, cool. It's kind of like certain levels in DuckTales where you had to find certain treasures along the way to find the boss, or even find keys that you needed to progress in certain other platformers, like Zelda 2 in particular. Oh, that's more of an action RPG, but more on that's neither here nor there in this conversation. You get my point. With that said, I will say I would rather have an action platformer do itself well than have an extra mechanic that slogs things down. Because I think in terms of just the perspective of an action platformer, that Power Blade 2 is the more interesting game. Whether or not it's more or less refined is up to debate, because I know some people don't like the level design in this game too much, and they think that there's no point in being able to choose your which stage you go in which order. And I think there's some solid points there, honestly. With that said, time for the mini-boss of this stage. Gee, our dragon friend is now green and is slightly underwater. The water, though, is more or less just a glorified conveyor belt in this case, though. Because it's only knee-deep, it just pushes you to the right side of the screen, so you need to fight against the currents to actively make sure you're not getting too close to the boss. And for beating it, we get one of the more deceptively useful suits in the game, the Patriot Suit. This is the suit the first boss, or the boss of stage 1 used, rather. This one's a bit different than the others in that it's not based on mobility at all, it's more so a defensive suit. To quote the manual directly, this mighty suit is a product of the most advanced engineering available. 2 orbs fly around the suit and absorb the fire of your enemies. Essentially, you gain options out of Gradius, but instead of being extra attacks, they're shields that not only protect you outright from projectiles if they're being fired at you, but in case there's like a homing projectile, the orbs will home in on them and take them out wherever they stand. It's a deceptively useful suit for one reason alone. It's really good in a lot of the boss fights, particularly the boss fight of stage 5 and 6. And I think, actually no, do I use it in this final boss, the boss of the stage? No, I think I use the newt suit here more than anything. Or is it the rocket suit? I can't recall off the top of my head. Oh, great, more propellers! You're really just being the jack of all stars, of all trades, aren't you, Stage 4? Alright, now for a section right out of Mario World. Or I guess Mario World had a section right out of this? Question mark? It's a crusher segment. If you get trapped underneath a ceiling when the crusher reaches the bottom, or rather the top of its ascent, you're dead, just straight up. With that said, something you really want to be careful with is sliding through the one-tiled hallway, or halls? Passageways? Passageways is the word I'm looking for there. As if you try to slide under them while the stage is sliding up, you're gonna die. You need to do it while it's on the way down, otherwise, well, no, that's it. If you don't do it when sliding down, you're just gonna be you're gonna be trapped there. And something I haven't quite mentioned yet is that all the stages in this game do have a time limit, and it's not the most threatening time limit in the world. I honestly think some of the time limits in the Mario games on the NES can be more threatening. But if you take things a bit too conservatively, I can see them causing some problems for some people. For me, I'm so used to playing run-and-gun type, or I guess action platformer type games on the NES and other systems like Mega Man, Ninja Gaiden. I guess you can count Metroid in that. This type of game is so ingrained in me at this point that I know what's best, or at least I'm decently able to judge when I should move, when I should not move, when I should attack an enemy, things of that nature. Although, don't get me wrong, I will still die in the dumbest ways sometimes, because get this, I'm human, I'm a dumbass. With that said, though, we are coming up on the boss of this stage, and let's look through the bosses we've had. We've had the rocket suit, the Patriot Suit, the newt suit. That means the only thing left is the wetsuit, right? Theoretically. Because the boss of Stage 4 doesn't exactly use any of the suits in my eyes. It's more so like almost a second fight against the newt suit. But this time there's two of them. With that said, each one of them tends to stick to their respective wall. So my favorite strategy for this is just to get on the Patriot Suit to take care of any projectiles that come my way. And then just attack and slide under the one that's jumping towards me, because then I'll probably not get hit by the other one as it's jumping away from me either. As long as you have one of the suits, which you are mostly guaranteed to, this boss shouldn't cause many problems for you unless you're getting super close up and personal with them. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 3, the rest of the game. See you guys then.